So from a really practical standpoint, let's talk a little bit about how you reduce inflammation, how you get rid of inflammation. What do you think, Pops?
Well, the first thing that you have to do to get rid of inflammation is you have to identify the inflammatory. And that requires some really good testing. It's not something that you don't want fly by night. Try something and hope you feel better. You want to take and measure it, and you want to take and find out what the real primary nidus of irritation is, the primary problem. So you take and put a patient through testing, through heavy metal testing, blood testing, and you examine the patient. You look at their skin, their nails. The body is an outward sign of what inflammation does. It tears down the human body. Once you measure it and you get some specific numbers, then that gives you a path. As I say to patients, when you're starting out trying to find out where somebody's at, it's kind of like looking at the United States, the map, and you say, how do we get to San Diego? Well, in order to get to San Diego, you have to kind of know where you're starting from. You might be out in New York and you might be down in Yuma. It's a different path. And if you're in Washington and we say walk west, then you'll end up in the ocean. So we have to take and have specific tests with specific indicators and identify those. And then once you find those things, then you start working toward eliminating the inflammatory. When the inflammatory goes down and the numbers go down and you're measuring the reduction of the inflammation, then you also then have to take and go through supporting the body to heal from the damage done by that. Isn't that right?
That's right. So just to reiterate what was already said in a little bit of a different way, some of the specific things that we measure are blood tests like C-reactive protein, or there are cardiac inflammatory markers or liver enzymes that will elevate when there's an inflammatory process in any of those individual places. So knowing that context is once again a very clear indication to know where the starting point is, instead of just saying you are Susie Q with inflammation. We're tasked with the ability to say you're Susie Q who has a liver enzyme value of this and a C-reactive protein of this, and it gives not only us but that patient the ability to walk directly on the path that's laid out for them to get from wherever they start to San Diego, to the promised land. So yeah, it's a fun process. It's different for everybody. It's important to note the individual status.
I think one of the fun things is our whole goal in this office always has been to try to make the patient independent. And so when you can take and show a patient the inflammatory and give them the pathway to get to San Diego, they actually can watch their mileage marker go down, and as they're walking they get excited because they're heading down that path themselves without having to have somebody hold their hand. And it makes them very independent, and they can survive life even if we're not around, which is really the goal, is to make a patient independent and healthy, and that they know that they're heading in the right direction.
I love it. Couldn't have said it better. So getting back to the original question, how do you reduce it? What are some tangible ways to go about that? We talked briefly before about eating the right types of foods. If you have a choice between something that is in a package and that has come from a factory and has gone through step after step after step of processing, as opposed to something that you pick from a tree or you pull from the ground like a fruit or a vegetable, the nutrient content of both of those will do different things in your body. And the byproduct of choosing the fruit or vegetable is that it helps your body to deal with inflammation and to eliminate inflammation because it's the right source of nutrient. So that's one thing. You can change what you're eating. You can also help to reduce the amount of toxic burden that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis from an environmental standpoint. if you have consistent input from your environment of things like heavy metals or chemicals from, once again, food that you eat or personal care products that you're using on a regular basis, understanding that those things can cause that inflammation to increase, and then doing your best to eliminate them is actually a pretty powerful thing.